Marcus Andronicus says, unsubscribing. No one in their right minds wants to give nukes to Islamists. You're leaving? Don't go! Oh, please come back! Come back! I'll get down on my knees! Not during this video, because the camera can't follow me. But I will! I'll get down on my knees! I'll do anything! I'll appease whoever you want me to appease! I'll conform to whatever is the most popular political narrative! Whoever has all the money and the guns, I'll say what they like! Yeah! Hey everybody, this is John the Editor. First of all, this is a really long video. It's like 25 minutes long. And also, I'm doing responses to some of the feedback I got from my last video. And I get a little worked up in this video. I hope you don't mind. Maggie K says, I don't think you understand the mindset of the Palestinian leadership. Their goal is to wipe Israel off the face of the planet. Giving them a nuke will allow them to complete their goal. Israel does not have a right to exist, according to Hamas and many of their political cohorts. Israel does not have a right to exist. It's a state. States don't have rights. Canada doesn't have a right to exist. The United States doesn't have a right to exist. A nation is not a person. Only a person has rights. We all condemn Israel for its heavy-handedness, but let's be honest here, the Palestinian leadership isn't seeking a peaceful solution. Yeah, well, not anymore, they're not. There is no peaceful solution when your opponent bulldozes the houses of your civilian population and keeps moving their borders. Mr. Kilroy says, everyone seems to be all too willing to forget that it was the Arabs that broke the peace under Arafat years ago. Everyone is willing to dogpile Israel. Everyone is more willing to believe the propaganda out of Gaza than make the realization that Hamas is using its own people as cannon fodder. It can only be one thing. Everyone hates the Jews, everyone has always hated the Jews, and are willing to excuse the genocidal intent of Hamas. Well, the video that all this is in response to is not a video saying let's nuclear arm Hamas. I said let's nuclear arm Palestine, and I also said let's do it through the proxy of a hosting nation. I don't want to put a nuclear weapon in the hands of irresponsible, mentally traumatized, psychopathic combatants. This is not to escalate an existing conflict into a nuclear exchange. But the second part is that we talk about the Arabs broke the peace. Well, there has always historically been peace and cooperation between Arabs and Jews, going all the way back to the Spanish Inquisition. The Arabs were thrown out of Spain first, and then when the Jews were thrown out, the Arabs assisted the refugees at the time. If you read the journals of the original settlers of Israel, the Jewish settlers, and I don't mean they were the original people, just the original Jewish settlers, they talk about the existing Arab people living in the region as if those people who were there first are foreigners. I am convinced there can be a peaceful coexistence between Jews and Arabs in the land presently called Israel, but not with a Zionist state viewing one people as God's chosen, deserving the land, and everybody else as beneath human. Mo Migtau, a frequent commenter, says the reason Europe has been largely peaceful is due to the USA dumping billions of dollars into keeping Europe safe. I find this a very questionable claim. There's no source given. I trust Mo will provide a source. By the way, Europe as a whole has not really been that peaceful. The USSR pulled some really bad stuff with Hungary, Czechoslovakia, and other Eastern European nations. Then there was the whole Balkans thing, the Irish fighting, the Cold War. Large NATO nations have not fought each other. Well, blah, 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 blah. You know who has actual nuclear weapons? Russia, China, the UK, France, and in Europe almost nobody else. India, Pakistan. Now, Pakistan gets drone strikes against them from the US. They're so far apart that Pakistan can't really make a nuclear strike against the US. If they were neighbors, though, that would not be happening at all. So the argument that nuclear weapons do not play a peacekeeping role, I think, is not a legitimate argument. But he continues. He also says, in case you've not figured it out yet, there is no such thing as Palestine. No such thing as Palestine. there's a whole lot of people living in the area that doesn't exist, not called Palestine, who I'm sure would argue with you, and I'm sure the entire population of Israel would also disagree with you, because this non-existent place, not called Palestine, is right next door to them. And of the 193 member nations in the United Nations, 134 of them have recognized that Palestine is a nation. But, of course, Palestine doesn't exist. Okay. Mo also says some pretty unfortunate stuff. He says, the Arabs will not be happy until the Israelis are wiped out. Hopefully one side will kill the other off so it will be resolved. That's an awfully cynical thing to say. You don't want to revise that opinion? Oh yeah, he says, stop conning people. Just ask for money to fight patriarchy in video game industry because that is a legitimate cause for a Kickstarter. Well played, sir. One of my favorites, Joe Johnson says, John the Other, you want to raise 100 grand, LOL. How is a peasant with a low income going to raise that much money? We all know your annual salary ain't shit, and you make chump change. This is the dumbest idea you've come up with. You are going to alienate the MRA. That's the MRM, Men's Rights Movement. MRA stands for Men's Rights Activist, meaning one person in the movement. From mainstream conservatives, Jews, and Christians. Well, so what? I mean, the Men's Rights Movement is alienated from fucking practically everybody in order to be effective. The whole movement is fighting mainstream sensibilities in which men are disposable. He makes another comment which I'm going to scroll down to and read as well. I had to scroll a bit to find it, but here's the other comment by Joe Johnson. This moron is going to ruin the MRA. MRM. Joe. MRM. Movement. Men's Rights Movement. This moron is going to ruin the MRA if he keeps posting videos like this. He wants to make a fundraiser for Iranians to build a nuke. No. I want to make a fundraiser for Palestinians to get a nuke. Maybe through Iran, maybe through some other nation. This peasant, I love that he keeps going back to peasant. This peasant who makes minimum wage can't raise anything close to 100K. What does this moron do for work besides make YouTube videos? However, he will make the MRA look like fools. The Men's Rights Movement, or maybe he means men's rights activists in the plural this time. The MRA doesn't want to be associated with a fundraiser to get nukes for Iran. So, Joe Johnson is now speaking for the MRA, not the MRM. This will serve, he says, this will serve to alienate, and he has a numbered list. Number 1, Jews and Jewish donors. Okay, the first problem with that is that Jews are synonymous with a Zionist state, that people of a particular religious faith are now inexorably tied by this particular comment to the state of Israel. I happen to know there's quite a few Jews who disagree with Israel's existence and their foreign policy towards Palestine, but moving forward. These people make far more money than some peasant, and I love the peasant, like John the Other, good luck raising money. Okay, number 2. Evangelical and conservative Catholic Christians. Good luck associating the MRA movement with raising money for Islamic terrorists to get nukes. I don't want to give nukes to terrorists. I want to give nukes to people who are presently in the largest open-air prison in the world to somewhat equal the playing field between them and the aggressing nation. See how fast we lose Christian support. Ever notice how ISIS treats Christians in the Middle East? Good luck with that crap. Number 3, end any moderate female support. Good idea supporting Islamic terrorist theocracies and have any type of female support at all. I was not aware that we had any moderate female support. But maybe we do. And we're about to lose it because of me, personally. Number 4, the whole conservative and part of the liberal movement. Who do we gain from this? ISIS supporters? Hamas supporters? Wow, good luck with that. Well, I mean, aside from the individual comments, which are, you know, individually stupid. No, I'm sorry, that's poisoning the well, which I disagree with. The point is, I'm not a politician. I'm not doing videos or producing rhetoric or having an opinion to appease a powerful group or a moneyed group. If I only told the truth when I didn't offend people with power or money, I would not be telling the truth. I'd be I'd be a public propagandist. I'd probably work for Fox News. If what I say is true and it offends people with either power or money, tough shit for them. And if it has a negative consequence for me because I told the truth, tough shit for me. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop because I fear that somebody might get offended, somebody with either access to money or guns. I'm not a politician. I'm just here telling the truth as I see it. Don't like it? Unsubscribe. Smiley, username Smiley, comments saying, yeah, nukes keep peace in civilized countries, but you want to give terrorists who shoot and aim at civilians while hiding behind civilians as human shields who say openly and loudly again and again, we want to kill all the Jews, a nuke. You want to give them a nuke. Great, he says. I think you don't understand the Middle East and you don't understand terror. Actually, I'll get to that in a minute. People who hide behind human shields. The 1947 ship Exodus carrying Jewish survivors, many of whom were former internees, when they were blockaded, when they were not allowed to land, when they were not allowed to disembark their passengers because apparently there were too many for the local territory to handle, they put their children on deck and said, you're going to watch our children starve unless you let us land. Now, that's pretty reprehensible, but I'm not going to be too hard on them because those were people in desperate state of mind. Similarly, the people of Palestine are in a desperate state of mind. I am advocating a situation where they will be less desperate, therefore less inclined to do dramatic, violent, fatal things. The idea that I'm going to take a group of people and turn them into a nuclear-armed group of desperate, psychotic maniacs is like you've got it backwards and upside down. The whole idea here is to de-escalate, not to escalate. But he continues, he says, I think you don't understand the Middle East, you don't understand terror, you live in Canada, you live in a civilized country with civilized neighbors. Civilized neighbors? The worst things that the world hears from Canada is Justin Bieber. That's because the news is sanitized. Now let me explain the situation. He continues. Israel is the only real democracy in the Middle East. If you think Israel is a democracy, real or not, well, then we're going to argue over the definition of the word democracy, or I'm just going to have to abandon that conversation because you've swallowed too much public propaganda. And Israel being a real democracy is kind of a joke. It's only a democracy as long as all the people in it are Jewish. As soon as you have people who are not of the select type that they want to have a Jewish state, it ceases to be a democracy, which is why they want to keep the number of Palestinians down to 10%, including the Palestinians in the Palestinian as yet not occupied by Jewish settlers territory, which is why they want to murder as many of those people as possible, so that the entire Palestine and Israel territory, when they take all of it, which is what they want to do, will be only 10% or less Palestinian. That's not a real democracy. It's bullshit. Idiot Proof Dalek says, you're wrong about Palestine, John the Other. Does that mean I can't trust you on feminism either? Yes, that's what it means. You should only trust your own reason. Don't trust me. Make up your own mind. Zarkov45 says, one of the worst ideas anyone has ever had. One of the worst? Liar! It's the worst! Tebow1234. Oops. I'm reading these comments off my phone. Tebow1234 says, Israel has launched some daring missions to destroy nuclear capabilities of their rivals. You better make your videos from a bunker under a mountain. I live in Vancouver, British Columbia. Suite 310, apartment 1421, East 2nd Avenue. Come and get me. Now, Smiley's comment is really, really long, but the last part he says needs response. He says, I'm Israeli, and to me it looks like anti-Semitism. Really? Really? Oh, please. Please, you're not going to play that card, are you? Really? You're going to claim that the Zionist state and your Jewish identity are the same fucking thing? Fucking please! Climb down out of that crazy tree! Put your feet on the ground! Realize that the people next door, behind that wall, the ones firing missiles at you, those pathetic, ineffective homebrew missiles, and the ones who get bulldozed in their homes by the Israelis, your people, you are the same fucking people! They're all the goddamn same! Jewish, Arab, Canadian, Native American, Chinese, we're all the fucking same! You stupid cunt! One other thing, anti-Semitism. Arabs are Semites too. Does that mean I hate them as well? You moron? 256 Shades of Grey said, nukes in the hands of desperate people are not a good idea. A nuke might help balance the superpowers, but giving a nuke to a government run by terrorists, even if by necessity, which I don't say is the case, but even if then still terrorists who are prepared to send suicide bombers to kill civilians is definitely a bad idea. Well, I think if you rewatch the original video that all these comments are a response to, you'll see that I don't want to put the nuke actually in Palestine, actually in the hands of the leaders of Hamas. Hamas is a political, military, if you prefer to use the term, terrorist group, formed out of a sense of extreme and desperate need of human beings to be self-determining and being denied that self-determination by forces far more politically, economically, and militarily powerful than themselves. I propose to remove that desperation and not, by the way, put the nuke in the hands of Hamas directly, rather to put the nuke in the hands of a third-party nation state who already have the infrastructure and a nuclear program. So those are the comments that I'm reading. I'm sure there's more even since I started recording those comments. The problem, as I see it, is there's a difference between negotiation and pleading. Just, you know, getting down on your knees and please, please. And the difference is, in my mind, as follows. In a negotiation, both parties to a negotiation have something to gain, both have something to lose, both have something to offer, and both have something to take away. There's a carrot and a stick on both sides. In a business deal, well, if you don't raise your offer to a substantive amount that's viable, that's acceptable, I will take away the thing I'm offering to the deal, which may be, you know, license to use a piece of software, it may be a labor force, it could be any number of things. Something to gain, something to lose. That's a negotiation. Between Palestine and Israel, it's not a negotiation. There's not a meeting of equals. There's one side with all the money and military power in the world, and the other side with nothing. No food, no water, no international support. There's lots of people holding signs going, I disagree with the continued murder of Palestinians and the bulldozing of their houses. I think that's very bad, and if you do it anymore, I'll tell you it's very bad again. Like, that's going to do a goddamn thing? It's going to do anything? It hasn't done anything in 70 years. Why would it start having some sort of a positive result now? No. Disapproving of murder doesn't matter to people who are psychopathic, who don't even see the people they're killing as humans. Which is why I say give them a nuke. Now, am I being a little bit brash? Am I being a little bit, you know, fast with my words? Yeah, I am. Because I'm in actually no position to raise $100,000 and put a nuke in the hands of either Hamas or the Palestinian people or any third-party nation to act as a responsible adult on their behalf. I'm in absolutely no position to do any of that. I'm a schmuck with a keyboard and a video camera. The point is, complaining, I don't agree with it, I would like to boycott Israeli products because I don't agree with the murder of Palestinians. That's gonna do jack shit nothing. And that's why I want to illustrate the difference in the previous video and this one between a negotiation and pleading, which will accomplish nothing. This is a really clear and easily understood evil, a profound and ongoing evil. If we can't do a goddamn single effective thing about that, how can we possibly solve more subtle, more nuanced problems, like the dehumanization of half the human population based on an ideology of gender? There has to be a nuke, and I'm speaking figuratively. There has to be a consequence. Pleading accomplishes nothing, and it never will. The rest of the world has been looking at the Israel-Palestine conflict for 70 years and tut-tutting and saying, I don't approve. I disagree. Stop killing those people. And if you don't stop, I'll say stop again. And this is such a clear, obvious, blatant evil. And we haven't been able to do a goddamn single effective thing to stop it. Except write strongly worded editorials. Protest does nothing. Complaint does nothing. That's why I say, give Palestine a nuke. I'm a member of the men's rights movement. Now what is that? What is that thing? People writing editorials and making videos, and more recently going to conferences and sticking up posters and saying, hey, men are being killed. And it's all editorial and nobody gives a fuck. Because men are the machines of industry. Society runs on the corpses of good and compliant men. And all the John the Others and Paul Elams and Angry Harrys in the world won't make a single solitary fucking bit of difference. If we want men to not be disposable, taken to the curb when they're used up, non-humans, the bodies of empire, we need a nuke. And what is that nuke? It's withdrawal of men from their willingness to be the disposable machines of empire. And that's the point.